3, 2, 1.
Very hard to do in Los Angeles right now as an art major, as an artist.
Yeah, so all the making that I do, like, mainly happens in this space. All this crap gets pushed out temporarily. We don't use the clotheslines for like months at a time. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you sort of make it work. It's pokey, but it does everything I need. Yeah.
So in the time that you've lived in Perth, have you always lived in this suburb?
No, so I went to boarding school here.
Yeah.
When I was sort of at high school.
Yeah.
And then stayed at college for uni. And lived in South Perth for a bit. And then came here.
Mm.
And I totally participate in all these sort of things that I'm trying to pull apart. So like I garden and I have a fence and
I was thinking that, but the space. In fact, this is kind of an interesting place because you've got a vacant lot at the back, which is kind of,
you can see
that's a real Perth thing as well.
Yeah, totally.
The subdivision.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this also while we were parking. I was saying that with the verges. So I drove here with my wife, and we're trying to actually work out whether we could park. We don't know whether you can park on a verge, or is it like parking in someone's driveway?
It is a bit. It is a bit. Like,
there's a code to it, isn't there?
Yeah, like we park on our neighbours across the road's front verge because they've got a really shady tree.
Yeah.
It's a really good spot to park. But we've asked them about it. We've been like, oh guys, is it okay if like sometimes we park here?
Yeah.
And, because we've asked them about it, we feel like totally okay with it. But I think if we hadn't asked them, we'd be like, ooh, like pushing our luck a bit. And I definitely it's funny, you do see ownership over that space and you maintain that space. And
that's right. Yeah,
you stop mowing the lawn when you get to your neighbour's verge. You leave a mown patch.
Yeah.
This wide, like you could just mow it, but usually you'll just do your own. So that maintenance is really territorial.
Yeah. It's interesting, I think, because you don't even think about these habits, or you don't even think about these kind of codes and rules and that kind of thing until you move to a different. I mean, we've just moved from one Australian city to another, but there's still, because the suburban layout is different enough in Perth. There are things like that we have no idea how they work, how they function.
Yeah.
In our streets, I look at the, there's a section of the street where nobody seems to park on the street.
Okay.
They all seem to park on the verge, and I think, okay, if we parked on the street, would that be a problem? And you try and kind of normalise your behaviour off just what you can observe from other people.
Yeah. And that information is something you might never ask about.
No.
Because it's sort of so banal and things that you don't feel it's like essential to your survival, but it's accumulation of that knowledge that I think maybe makes you feel at home in that space, or not if you never accumulate that knowledge. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking about, when you were when you're in France, even though this kind of predates this sort of work, I think that, in that experience there must have been a lot of trying to negotiate, well, what is the norm here?
What's the code?
The rule? What's the code?
And there's the cliche that French people are very impatient with foreigners and things like that. So if you don't know the code, you're such an idiot. So And I think, there was a lot of, I think I felt that really personally and sort of had a lot of anxiety about that. Walking the same speed as everyone else and sort of like not looking lost and stuff like that.
How far, where were you, so you said you grew up in the Wheatbelt, so how far out from Perth?
It's about 4 hours north,
right,
sorry. And it is like relatively remote in that, like, the population of the town that was closest to us was 40.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I think I had probably, because it was remote, I think our school and things got actually more opportunities maybe than perhaps going to school in some areas in Perth would get. Like the fact that they knew that maybe we couldn't access the same services sort of made a lot of things come to us, and there were benefits to it, I guess.
It's. I think it's interesting thinking about where you came from and then moving to a city, and the work that you do, because so much of the work is about proximity to suburbia is about proximity to people in the way that you wouldn't have experienced when you were growing up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, the thing is also, I've noticed with Perth that people, because a lot of the lots of land used to be big and a lot of being subdivided, there is a lot of living on top.
Yeah.
Very, very small spaces between.
Yeah, and as that sort of evolves, as cities, particularly Perth, is becoming denser, having to renegotiate those things are sort of going to become more and more common. Back to curtilage, like when I was looking for houses to use, modern builds are often built to deny sightlines specifically. I could show you like examples in this street, like houses will have that are built at the same time will have use things like garages as buffers. They will balconies and things will sort of be in concave spaces within the architecture rather than sort of protruding from buildings. That's really common with apartment buildings in inner city as well, and it's something that really has when cities develop a bit more haphazardly, I think there's less attention paid to curtilage and sightlines because things come at different times, so they don't often necessarily consider that relationship so much. But I think because there's a lot of development going on at the same time, like it's really obvious in new architecture that things are sort of angled away from each other and blocked and covered, and that seems to be like a huge trend. Do you think that the move is because what we're talking about here fundamentally is public and private space and how architecture and planning attempts to negotiate that? What do you think the trend is in cities towards the treatment of public and private space? Well, it seems to be that there are a lot of public spaces built for everyone, and whether they work in that way. I went to a really interesting talk where an architect said spaces for everyone are spaces for no one, because it assumes that everyone is the same and will use them in the same way. So, but there seems to be very much like sort of like public gardens and street cinema and sort of like very sort of buzzword, sort of like we all share these things together. But then our private spaces are completely against that. So houses are, it's sort of like housing is moving in one way and street spaces are moving in the other. And I guess it's giving people that live in places more choice. Like if you want privacy, you can have it, and when you're ready to interact with other people, then you go to these public spaces. But there's lots written about the passage and sort of landings and spaces where things do happen accidentally, and how important that is for social interaction and interaction in our cities and relationships. So it's sort of funny that those in between spaces are being denied, I guess. That's the fascinating thing I find as well, because I've written about this before, but the idea of the stoa, which is the idea of like this a portico, this space within an urban environment which is not quite the outside and it's not quite the inside, it's not quite the public space, it's not quite the private space, and how traditionally
in ancient Greece, that used to be the place where rules were kind of more slack, and there was a more constructive or more creative kind of public discourse in those places. And when I think about what you're talking about, so for instance, I think of the, like Elizabeth Quay, they're making a new part in the city. It's going to be a big public space for everyone, but at the same time, those kinds of spaces are quite regulated, and they're quite specific in
what you can do there.
What you can do in them,
yeah. And the word pop-up sort of thing is a really interesting, like, I think it's like if you put pop-up before anything, it becomes like exciting or something.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that's the answer either, really.
Yeah.
Or,
do you think there is any, do you think there are any in-between spaces in our urban environment that still exist for us to be creative in?
Yeah, I think so. And I think they're those spaces that sort of go undesigned and maybe unnoticed, and I mean, I think that happens through neglect almost. Because then people can take ownership of those things.
I think that's true.
I think trying to curate that for people is really difficult. And I know that's sort of what architecture's all about, is trying to create spaces for being used, but I'm sort of wary of deciding what that is for who, and who's deciding that's what you need, or
it's almost as if abandonment of space sometimes is the thing that actually frees it up.
And Perth's interesting like that. Like, in some ways we've still got so much space, there's still so many empty blocks, there's still so much parking lot and sort of things like that.
Well, thank you very much, and
Pleasure.
best of luck with the exhibition.
Thanks.